Director of Fabkomp, a company that supplied the Eastern Cape Health Department with scooter ambulances at the height of COVID-19, wants to know why the contract was set aside. News 24 reports that Brian Harmse has approached the Judicial Service Commission to take action against the president of the Special Tribunal, Judge Lebogang Modiba, for refusing to provide him with reasons for her judgment. Harmse joins me now to state their case. Brian, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. It's 2024. Matter was decided, I think, in 2029, including by the public protector. One would ask, why would you still be pursuing this matter, having had both institutions, public protector and the SIU, saying this procurement process would have been irregular, not on your part, but on the part of the Department of Health itself?
Okay, so I'm not actually fighting for the contract to be overturned or anything like that. Okay, what we want is a full written judgment. So the judge in the tribunal said that she would do a full written judgment because it's for the public interest, and it's a very important case, and almost for case law.
Yeah.
And so she said she was going to do a full written judgment, and then she asked us to submit additional information, which we did. And then when it came to the point of of the trial coming to an end, there was no judgment. It was just one single page. It was a court order, and then so in other words, all the incorrect information that the SIU told into the court process was lost. So without having a judgment, there's nothing's written down on what really happened and what the true position is.
So you went back to her and seeking reasons for her final order, I suppose in a letter that you would have written to her. What was her reason? I mean, she seems to have been offended by the fact that you requested reasons.
Okay, so what happened was my attorneys got it wrong. Okay, so the request to her actually was to have been, what is the reasons for not giving a full written judgment? And my attorney wrote to her and says, what was your reasons for giving the order or the court order? And that really got her upset.
And up until now, you have not been given reasons as to why you have not received a full judgment?
No. So just to clarify the position about the News 24 article, if I can. Okay, so I didn't go out there, to News 24. I got a phone call from News 24 saying, they're running a story about this thing of requesting the judgment, full written judgment from the judge to the JSC, and but the question I asked was, where did this information come from to the media? And it seemed like it came straight from the Special Tribunal, that internally they're sharing stuff with the media. So this is where we are at the moment. It's like it's playing out in the media, which I didn't want to. It wasn't my intention at all. But this is where we are now, because it's in a media platform now. Now we're discussing it.
Yeah, you, in a sense, would also want this. I mean, previously you would. Maybe you thought of letting it go, but you wanted some misstatements to be corrected. For example, around things that would have been said by the investigator.
Well, there's a few things that were completely wrong. First of all, that the SIU got everything wrong in all the documentation. And I made contact with the SIU, and I found the chief investigator. I know him personally. And they refused to correct the documentation, to the point that when it got to the first court process, they said to us, okay, they will drop us as the fourth respondent if we don't fight the process any further, for that first portion, which we agreed to do. They then drafted a draft court order, dropping us completely in that part A. Then we went to the tribunal. The Judge Modiba said, no, she won't accept this because Fabkomp had delivered units and now they had been modified, which is completely incorrect because we supplied nothing. Nothing was manufactured. We had no order number. So nothing was supplied, and so the judge herself said that we had modified units that we had supplied, which was not in. So in the court papers, the SIU, they stated that we had to modify units as well, which is also totally incorrect. So the whole process was completely not true, and we had no voice in that process because we agreed to to be dropped by the fourth respondent, the assumption was that the SIU would have told the judge that they had made mistakes in the affidavits, but they didn't do that. So that's the very first part of the court process.
Yeah. So do you accept the view, though, of the SIU that says whether there needs to be corrections from the investigator because of error and whatever else, it does not cure the fact that the procurement process would have been irregular and unlawful?
Well, okay, so the internal process of the Department of Health, kind of putting the tender together and going through the process, that's their own internal issue. The question is that, was the position that the SIU were going, they were saying there was collusion, corruption, and all those things, okay, which is completely untrue. So the point was the SIU they made the most basic error. Glenn Miller, which is the SIU chief forensic investigator, he somehow got the two companies that tendered mixed up. Okay, we had ISO certification and all documentation in place in our tender documents. The other company had nothing. He got the companies mixed up, and then he believed that we had no ISO certificate, and then straight away he believed, well, there's corruption, and they went into the court papers with this whole thing, thinking that they had found, the smoking gun, that there was no ISO certificate on our side, and therefore there's corruption. And they got it completely wrong from the beginning.
So are you going to the JSC as per the News 24 report?
No, we have. So to confirm with you, okay, so I asked the judge to please give us reasons why she wouldn't give a full written judgment. This was what we really asked for. In 2021, okay, she then called a meeting and with my advocate, and she really, really gave them a hard time because it was like such a crazy in-chambers meeting. So then I wrote personally to I basically spoke to the public protector, and they advised me to go to the Chief Justice. So I went online, saw what you should do. So I filled in the form, which I then submitted to the Chief Justice that went into the JSC, and they confirmed they got my documentation. It wasn't the right documentation, but they confirmed that they got it. And I said to them, please, if it's the incorrect documentation, let me know. So nothing happened from 2021 until 2023. So I then approached my attorneys, told them what had happened. They said, well, you should have written in the affidavits, which we then did, and we submitted it to the JSC, and then the JSC eventually said, okay, we'll accept it. They basically asked the judge to give her comments, which she just has done now a few days ago, and then I've got now 20 days to reply to her comments on my allegations.
Yeah, and as you see now, Brian, you're saying even the charges have been withdrawn, or at least the criminal case against Fabkomp has been withdrawn, which was initiated by the SIU.
Okay, so that's a very interesting point. Okay, so two things happened. Okay, so what happened was the SIU believed that this big story about corruption and things. Okay, so they went and they worked hand in hand with the Special Tribunal to kind of work on these cases. So we go through the process with the Special Tribunal. Okay. And then eventually the judge, she realizes that there's nothing, untoward to this contract. So she then does one page document. Okay, 3 lines. One line says the contract is terminated. Okay, not the contract, or the tender is closed. The second one, she allows the late filing of the SIU's documentations. And the third point was we all pay for our own costs. That's it. Nothing else is written at all. But what the SIU did was, at the same time in 2020, they went into the Bushbuck police station and they opened up a case of corruption, collusion, and that Gomba benefited from the process. Okay, based on Glenn Miller, on this chief investigating guy, he got everything wrong. But he goes and opens up a case in Bushbuck for this. So, and then the head of SIU, Andy Matibi, tells Scopa in Parliament that this specific case number, which is Bushbuck case number, whatever the case number is that that the chief forensic investigators are working with prosecutors on the specific case for collusion, corruption, and the Gomba benefited. Okay, and what happened was in 2021 that case was actually closed by the prosecutor. because nothing was supplied, whatever what they wrote in those documentation in the affidavits for the case was completely false. So then then I applied to get hold of this docket. I've been trying for 1 year to get this docket. This docket was handed to the SAP's archives in Bishu, and this docket went missing. So I've got the whole case timeline of this complete docket. It was accepted, put into the archive, and went missing. I then wrote to Scopa. I copied in Scopa, and I told them, about all these things that are going wrong. And then now it was last week I get a phone call to say they found the docket. All of a sudden. So the docket is now at the moment being looked at by some brigadier or somebody, and only once he decides I can look at the docket, then I can. But in there, if I can get hold of the docket, I will prove that the perjury or where the SIU lied in all of the affidavits.
Brian, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on and for your explanation. We will be reaching out to the SIU. We always do speak to Kaiser Khanyago or the SIU itself. We'll get them to respond, of course,